Something moved over the Taiwan Strait at a speed that didn't match anything on the flight schedules. Commercial pilots flagged it. Radar operators tracked an anomaly and then lost it. Open-source intelligence monitors picked up a communication that described a craft flying at extreme altitude with no contrail, accelerating past anything in the region's known inventory. It wasn't Chinese, nobody claimed it, and the US said nothing. That silence is exactly what this story's about, because it connects to a program the Pentagon has never officially confirmed, and a platform that, if real, changes what's possible over the most dangerous stretch of ocean on Earth. Most people know the SR-71 Blackbird. It flew at Mach 3.2, cruised above 85,000 feet, and spent 2 decades making every Soviet air defense system irrelevant. Nothing could touch it. The SR-72 makes the Blackbird look like a regional turboprop. Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division, the same group that built the U-2, the SR-71, and the F-117, started serious development on the SR-72 in the early 2000s. The nickname inside the program was Son of Blackbird, which tells you exactly how they saw it. Not a replacement. A successor that operates in a completely different threat environment. The headline number is Mach 6. That's roughly 4,600 miles per hour, or about twice the speed of the fastest surface-to-air missiles currently in service. At that velocity, a platform could cross the Pacific in under 2 hours. More importantly, even if an adversary's radar detects it and a launch order goes out, the geometry doesn't work. The missile runs out of energy trying to catch something already gone. The name Darkstar entered the public conversation through Top Gun, Maverick. Lockheed actually helped design the aircraft used in the film, and the studio's level of access was unusual for a Hollywood production. What was more unusual was how quiet Lockheed stayed about it afterward. No press releases, no official comments, no corrections to the record. In the defense community, that kind of silence about a fictional aircraft you helped to build tends to raise questions. Now, there's a real distinction between a demonstrator and an operational aircraft. A demonstrator proves the technology works. An operational platform means the airframe is cleared for missions, with trained crews and a defined tasking process behind it. Lockheed hasn't confirmed either publicly, but contractor job postings tied to hypersonic propulsion programs, budget line items buried in classified annexes, and commercial satellite imagery showing unusual activity at the Palmdale facility have been accumulating for years. None of that is proof. All of it points the same direction. So you've got a platform that, by every indirect indicator, exists in some form, and a flight profile that no current adversary can defeat. The logical next question is what you'd actually use it for, and where you'd send it first. The Taiwan Strait answers both. The Taiwan Strait is roughly 110 miles wide at its narrowest point. Every day, commercial flights cross it, naval vessels transit it, and military radar systems on both sides track everything moving through it. There is no stretch of airspace on Earth more densely monitored right now, which is exactly why sending a conventional reconnaissance platform into it has become so difficult. China's air defense network over and around the strait isn't a single system. It's layered. The HQ-9 is the backbone, a long-range surface-to-air missile system roughly comparable to the S-300, with a detection range that covers most of the strait from the mainland coast. On top of that, China operates S-400 variants acquired from Russia, which extend that coverage further and add a second engagement tier. The RQ-4 Global Hawk, which the US has used for high-altitude ISR for years, flies at around 60,000 feet and moves at subsonic speeds. Inside that threat environment, it's a target. Even the U-2, which has been operating near China for decades, operates under real constraints now that didn't exist 10 years ago. A platform flying at Mach 6 above 80,000 feet breaks that math entirely. At that speed and altitude, detection happens after the aircraft has already exited the engagement zone. No currently fielded interceptor missile can close that gap. The physics simply don't allow it. So whatever China's radar operators see, they can't act on it in time, and they know it. That matters because of where things stand in 2025 and going into 2026. PLA military exercises around Taiwan have shifted in character. What used to be periodic demonstrations have become structured rehearsals. naval formations that simulate a blockade, air activity that maps out intercept corridors, amphibious drills that aren't subtle about what they're practicing for. U.S. defense analysts have spent the last 2 years debating a specific window, roughly mid-decade to late 2020s, when the conditions for PLA action might align. That window is now. The U.S. needs to know what's on those ships, how those formations are moving, and what the command structure looks like in real time, without putting a platform in the air that China can shoot down or use as a justification for escalation. A hypersonic Black Project aircraft solves that cleanly. It collects the intelligence, it survives the mission, and officially it was never there. This isn't a new playbook. The U-2 flew over the Soviet Union for 4 years before Francis Gary Powers was shot down in 1960, and the program became public. For 4 years, the U.S. gathered strategic intelligence on Soviet nuclear sites and military installations, while Moscow knew something was up there and couldn't stop it. The SR-71 ran a similar operation for 2 decades. The pattern is consistent. Fly what the adversary can't reach, collect what you need, and stay quiet until you can't anymore. The question is whether history is repeating right now over the Strait, and the sighting reports suggest it might be. What actually got reported wasn't a single event. It was a cluster of incidents spread across different sources that open-source intelligence trackers started correlating. Commercial pilots on trans-Pacific routes logged radar contacts and visual observations of something moving at extreme altitude with a flight profile that didn't match scheduled traffic. Separate from that, at least one intercepted communication described a fast mover at altitude that disappeared from tracking before any intercept geometry could be established. Radar operators registered anomalies, brief, high-speed contacts that the systems flagged and then lost. None of that is a confirmed photograph. None of it is a verified radar track released through official channels. But it's also not nothing. The flight profile described across these accounts is specific enough to be worth examining. Extreme altitude on initial detection, no visible contrail at lower altitudes during what would be the climb phase, then a sudden acceleration consistent with an engine mode transition at higher speed. That sequence matches exactly what you'd expect from a turbine-based combined cycle engine, which is the propulsion concept Skunkworks has been developing for the SR-72 program. Here's how that engine works. At lower speeds, it runs like a conventional jet turbine, the kind of power plant you'd find on any military aircraft. Once the airframe pushes past roughly Mach 3, the engine transitions to scramjet mode, where the combustion process works differently and the thrust profile changes sharply. That transition produces a distinctive acceleration signature. It's not a gradual speed increase. It's a step change that looks abrupt to anyone watching from below, which is precisely what the accounts describe. Cross-referencing the geography adds another layer. The documented test corridor for Skunkworks hypersonic programs runs from the Palmdale facility out over the Pacific. That's an established route with a long history. Extending that corridor westward, toward the Philippine Sea and eventually the Western Pacific operating areas, isn't a theoretical leap. It's a logical continuation of a known flight path with a strategic destination. The timing of the reported sightings is harder to dismiss than the sightings themselves. They concentrate around periods when PLA naval activity in the Strait spiked. Carrier group movements, amphibious exercise windows, the kind of activity that would generate an intelligence requirement. That correlation could be coincidence. It could also mean that whenever Beijing starts moving assets in a way that triggers a tasking order, something goes up to watch it. Skeptics are right to note what's missing. No photograph has surfaced. No government has confirmed a radar track. No pilot has gone on record with their name attached. That's a real evidentiary gap. But it's also an accurate description of every active black program that later turned out to be real. The absence of confirmation isn't the same as evidence of absence. And in this case, the operational logic is too clean to ignore. If the SR-72 is operational, or even close to it, the ISR balance over the Pacific shifts in a way China can't offset. Every air defense investment Beijing has made, the layered radar networks, the long-range interceptors, the S-400 acquisitions, was built around the assumption that U.S. reconnaissance platforms have a speed ceiling. Remove that ceiling and the entire architecture becomes decorative. China can detect the aircraft. China can't do anything about it. That gap, once established, doesn't close quickly. Fielding a credible counter to a Mach 6 platform would take years and require technology China hasn't publicly demonstrated. The deterrence value runs deeper than reconnaissance. A platform your adversary knows exists but can't reach changes the psychology of the confrontation. It doesn't need to carry weapons to affect the calculus. Just the confirmed presence of something that can cover your entire coastline and be gone before you finish processing the radar. Return forces a different kind of caution. You don't know what it saw. You don't know when it's coming back. That uncertainty is a strategic tool. The weapons discussion is a separate thread, but it's worth following. The SR-72 has been examined in defense literature not just as a reconnaissance platform, but as a potential strike aircraft. A hypersonic aircraft that can reach a target and return to base before the defending radar network fully processes the engagement profile represents a different category of threat than a cruise missile or a stealth bomber. The intercept window collapses to near zero. Any time-sensitive target, a mobile launcher, a command node, a ship, becomes reachable in ways that current strike options don't allow. Tie that to the 2026 threat window analysts have been flagging, and the deployment logic becomes hard to argue with. The PLA's modernization timeline, the training tempo of their amphibious forces, and the political pressure around Taiwan all point toward the mid to late 2020s as the period of highest risk. The US is clearly positioning. Carrier strike groups, submarine deployments, pre-positioned munitions in the Pacific, and possibly a hypersonic reconnaissance platform flying tracks over the strait that nobody can officially acknowledge. The Top Gun angle deserves one more look. Using a major Hollywood film to introduce a classified platform's general shape, speed regime, and name to a global audience isn't unprecedented. Acclimating the public, and foreign intelligence services watching the same film, to the concept of an American hypersonic aircraft reduces the shock value of eventual disclosure. It's a slow leak, controlled and deliberate. Whether that's what happened with Darkstar is a theory, not a confirmed fact, but it fits a documented pattern of how black programs eventually surface. The real question isn't whether the SR-72 was the specific aircraft tracked over the strait. It's what the mission found and what decision makers are doing with that information right now. Both sides know something changed in that airspace. Neither is saying what. The most capable aircraft ever built works best when it doesn't officially exist. Whatever crossed the Taiwan Strait didn't slow down, didn't identify itself, and left both sides staring at a radar ghost. That's how these programs work until they don't. Something flew in 2026 that most people still don't know about. No press conference, no Pentagon briefing, just a contrail at the edge of space and a shockwave that lit up sensor networks across 3 time zones. What caused it was the SR-72, Lockheed's follow-up to the fastest jet ever built, designed to fly at speeds where no missile on Earth can catch it. We're going to break down what that flight revealed, why every air defense system in the world is now running the wrong calculations, and what it means for every other Air Force watching from the ground. The Black Project and what we actually know. Lockheed's Skunk Works division has been running the SR-72 program since at least 2013. That's when Aviation Week first reported on it, citing Lockheed sources who described a hypersonic demonstrator targeting Mach 6. The company didn't deny it. They confirmed the concept, pointed to a combined cycle propulsion approach, and then went almost completely silent. That silence has lasted over a decade, and it's deliberate. To understand why, you have to understand how black programs actually work. The U.S. defense budget contains a classified portion, often called the black budget, that funds development programs that never appear in public procurement records. The amounts are buried inside broader budget line items, the contractors are under strict non-disclosure agreements, and the test flights happen at ranges like Edwards Air Force Base or the Nevada Test and Training Range, where restricted airspace keeps civilian eyes out. This isn't conspiracy, it's standard acquisition practice for anything the military considers a strategic advantage. The SR-71 flew for years before the public knew it existed. The F-117 stealth fighter was operational for a decade before the Air Force acknowledged it. The SR-72 is following the same path. What makes 2026 different is the corroborating signals that started coming in from outside official channels. Aviation tracking networks picked up radar anomalies over known test corridors in the Southwest. Fast-moving returns at altitudes and speeds that didn't match any publicly registered aircraft. Eyewitness reports near the Mojave Desert and along the California-Nevada border described a distinctive double-sonic boom, the kind produced by a craft accelerating through and beyond Mach 3. That specific acoustic signature is different from a conventional supersonic aircraft. Defense analysts who track these corridors notice the pattern. None of it is proof in the courtroom sense, but taken together it builds a case that something was flying and that something wasn't a test drone or a legacy platform. Skunk Works keeps programs like this quiet for three interconnected reasons. First, operational security. The moment you confirm a capability, adversaries start building countermeasures. Second, adversary intelligence collection. Even a partial confirmation narrows the design space for engineers in Beijing or Moscow trying to reverse engineer your approach. Third, and least discussed, is the strategic value of uncertainty itself. An adversary who doesn't know what you have or when you might use it has to defend against a much wider range of possibilities. That costs money, planning cycles, and political capital. So publicly, the SR-72 remains a demonstrator program with a Mach 6 ambition. Unofficially, defense analysts believe a full-scale version has already flown. The gap between those two positions is exactly where Skunk Works wants the conversation to stay. Because the secrecy only makes sense once you understand what this aircraft can actually do. And at Mach 6, what it can do is operate in a physical environment that existing air defense systems were never designed to handle. The physics of Mach 6 and why nothing can stop it. At Mach 6, the SR-72 covers roughly 1 mile every second. Not per minute, per second. Put that against the reaction time of a surface-to-air missile battery, and the math gets uncomfortable fast. A human operator who detects the aircraft, confirms the track, gets authorization, and fires is looking at a process that takes somewhere between 30 and 90 seconds under ideal conditions. By then, the aircraft is 30 to 90 miles further down its flight path. The missile isn't chasing an aircraft anymore. It's chasing a ghost. But speed alone doesn't explain why this is so hard to counter. The deeper problem is what happens to the physical environment around the aircraft at those velocities. Supersonic flight, Mach 1 to roughly Mach 3, is a solved engineering problem. Aircraft have operated in that range for decades. Hypersonic flight starts above Mach 5, and the environment there is categorically different. The air in front of the aircraft can't move out of the way fast enough, so it compresses and heats to temperatures above 2,000 degrees Celsius at the leading edges. That's not a cooling problem. It's a materials problem. And it's one of the reasons hypersonic programs keep failing. You can design an airframe that survives the heat. Designing one that survives sustained hypersonic cruise, maneuvers under load, and still functions as a weapons or sensor platform is something else entirely. Lockheed's approach to propulsion is where the engineering gets particularly difficult. Conventional jet engines work by drawing in air, compressing it with rotating fan blades, and igniting fuel in the compressed mixture. Above Mach 3, the incoming air is already so compressed and hot that the engine can't add useful energy to it. The combustion process breaks down. So the SR-72 uses what's called a combined cycle engine, developed in partnership with Aerojet Rocketdyne. At lower speeds, it runs as a turbine-based jet. At a specific transition point, it hands off to a scramjet, a supersonic combustion ramjet, where there are no moving parts and combustion happens in airflow that's already traveling faster than sound. That transition from turbine to scramjet is the single hardest moment in the flight envelope. The propulsion system has to bridge two completely different operating regimes without flameout, structural failure, or loss of control. Getting that transition right is what separates a concept from a flying aircraft. Now layer in the stealth question, because this is where the SR-72 creates a problem that existing air defense doctrine doesn't have a clean answer to. At hypersonic speeds, the plasma sheath forming around the aircraft does unpredictable things to radar returns. Sometimes it absorbs radar energy, sometimes it scatters it in ways that don't resolve into a clean track. The aircraft's geometry is designed to reduce radar cross-section, but even if that geometry produces a detectable return, a targeting solution requires more than detection. It requires a track, a predicted future position, accurate enough to put a missile warhead within lethal range. Against a Mach 6 aircraft at altitude, that prediction has to extend far enough ahead of the aircraft's current position that any course change, even a shallow one, breaks the intercept geometry entirely. Systems like the S-400, the Patriot, and China's HQ-9 were all designed with supersonic threats as their primary envelope. They're effective against cruise missiles, fighter jets, and ballistic re-entry vehicles following predictable trajectories. A sustained hypersonic cruise vehicle flying an actively managed flight path sits outside that design baseline. The engagement timelines are too compressed, the tracking demands are too steep, and the geometry of a valid intercept doesn't close against something moving that fast, that high. Speed and stealth get the aircraft into denied airspace. The real question is what it does once it's there. Strike capability, global reach, and the geopolitical shock. The SR-71 never carried a weapon. Its entire value was what it could see and bring back. Imagery, signals intelligence, electronic emissions. Every hostile nation it overflew knew it was there and couldn't do anything about it. But the aircraft itself posed no direct threat. The SR-72 breaks that arrangement entirely. Lockheed has been explicit that the design is built from the start for both reconnaissance and strike, which means the aircraft that overflies your territory at Mach 6 might not just be watching, it might be the delivery vehicle. That changes the decision calculus for any adversary defense planner in ways that are genuinely difficult to absorb. A strike launched from the continental United States can reach any point on Earth in under 2 hours at hypersonic cruise speed. There's no current early warning architecture that gives a defender 2 hours of lead time against a low observable hypersonic platform. The defender's window to intercept, evacuate, or disperse assets shrinks towards zero. And unlike a ballistic missile, which follows a predictable arc that existing systems can at least attempt to model, a hypersonic cruise vehicle can maneuver, can change heading, and doesn't telegraph its target until it's already inside the terminal phase. The ISR role compounds this. At Mach 6 and operational altitude, the SR-72 can fly a collection pass over denied territory and be back across the border before a ground controller can scramble interceptors to the right sector. The SR-71 did something similar during the Cold War, but the SR-72's speed margin over anything that might chase it is wider, and its sensor suite would be designed around a generation of collection technology that didn't exist in the 1970s. So you get reconnaissance that's essentially uncontestable, paired with a strike option that compresses response time to the point of irrelevance. For China and Russia, the 2026 flight reports, even unconfirmed, carry a specific kind of pressure. Both countries have invested heavily in what defense planners call anti-access and area denial, the layered network of radar, missiles, and fighter coverage meant to keep U.S. aircraft out of their airspace and out of reach of their high-value assets. The SR-72, if it performs as the program suggests, flies over the top of that entire architecture. It doesn't need to suppress air defenses. It doesn't need escort or electronic warfare support. It just goes, and nothing currently fielded stops it. That puts both countries in an uncomfortable position. They can accelerate their own hypersonic programs. Russia has been public about platforms like the Kinzhal and Zircon. China has shown the DFZ F-Glide vehicle. But those are primarily offensive weapons, not the kind of sustained hypersonic cruise aircraft the SR-72 represents. Building a true equivalent requires solving the same propulsion and materials problems the US has apparently just cleared. That's years of engineering work, minimum. In the meantime, the gap between what the US has demonstrated and what anyone else can field is now visible, and visibility matters in deterrence. What follows the demonstrator is the question nobody outside Skunk Works can fully answer. A production aircraft, a weapons integration program, a basing and logistics structure built around something that generates extreme heat loads on landing. All of that takes time and money. But the demonstrator phase isn't the end. It's the proof of concept that unlocks the rest of the program. And if the 2026 flight went the way the signals suggest it did, the program just cleared the hardest gate in the entire development sequence. The SR-72 doesn't just outrun air defenses. It makes the entire framework of air defense planning obsolete, because those systems were built around a world where speed had an upper limit that interception could match. The SR-72 is set to become the world's most advanced hypersonic aircraft. Built to reach Mach 6 and operate at extreme altitudes, the SR-72 is faster, smarter, and deadlier than anything seen before. With unmatched speed, stealth, and strike precision, the Darkstar is set to transform aerial warfare. What does the existence of this aircraft mean for regional power, and how will it transform Israel's military power? Join us as we explore the mind-blowing capabilities of the SR-72 and what its arrival means for global air power. Israel has demonstrated its military capacity time after time. As evident in the several conflicts that this country is involved in, Israel has always had the upper hand, and that might not change anytime soon. One key reason behind this strength lies in the steady flow of advanced weaponry from its strongest ally, the United States. The United States is by far the biggest provider of weapons to Israel. In the year 2023, nearly 70% of all weapons that Israel imported came from the U.S. The weapons that Israel got from the United States have been deeply involved in its recent military operations, especially against Hamas and Hezbollah. According to the think tank's report, by the end of 2023, Israel had received thousands of guided bombs and missiles from the U.S. In January 2024, Israel also got advanced F-35 and F-15 fighter jets from the U.S. A detailed analysis by CNN found many cases where weapons made in the U.S. were used during the war. Some of these attacks reportedly killed civilians. In one of the most recent incidents, CNN discovered that 2,000-pound bombs made in America were likely used in an airstrike that killed a top Hezbollah leader, Hassan Nasrallah, in Beirut. Apart from weapons, the U.S. also supports Israel financially. Since the year 1948, the U.S. government has given Israel over $130 billion in total funding. This massive support has helped strengthen Israel's military over many years. In 2019, the U.S. and Israel signed a new agreement called a Memorandum of Understanding. In that agreement, the U.S. promised to give Israel $3.3 billion every year through the Foreign Military Financing Program. On top of that, Israel would also get another $500 million each year for missile defense systems. This close relationship between the U.S. and Israel means that American-made weapons and money play a big part in Israel's ability to fight wars and carry out military strikes. The U.S. has long been Israel's strongest ally, and this support continues to shape the way Israel responds to threats in the region. However, the use of U.S.-made weapons in attacks that harm civilians has raised serious concerns. Human rights groups and media investigations, like those done by CNN, have pointed out the risks involved in such strong military support. These findings have led to more questions about how U.S. weapons are being used and whether more checks are needed. Still, the United States shows no signs of slowing down its support for Israel. The steady flow of arms and money continues, with both governments defending their strong partnership. For now, this alliance remains one of the most powerful in the world, both in terms of military cooperation and political ties. Adding to its growing defense innovations, the United States recently made major headway by confirming the rumors about the SR-72, a hypersonic aircraft that could reshape the future of aerial warfare. But to understand the significance of this breakthrough, we need to look back at its legendary predecessor. When the SR-71 Blackbird first flew in the early days of the Cold War, it was unlike anything the world had seen. This sleek black aircraft was far ahead of its time. It could fly faster and higher than any other plane, making it nearly impossible for enemies to catch or shoot down. Because of its unmatched speed and power, many people believed the U.S. military would never retire it without building something even better to replace it. So when the Blackbird was retired in the 1980s, rumors quickly spread that a secret new aircraft must be in the works. For years, there was no official word. Then in 2013, Lockheed Martin finally revealed the concept of the SR-72, a new, more advanced aircraft designed to follow in the footsteps of the Blackbird. While the announcement was new, reports suggested that Lockheed had already been working on early designs for years, keeping the project under wraps. This wasn't surprising, as many military aircraft projects start in total secrecy to avoid giving away plans to rivals. The original SR-71 Blackbird was able to fly at speeds over Mach 3, which is 3 times the speed of sound. This incredible speed was made possible by its powerful Pratt & Whitney J58 engine. Unlike most jet engines, the J58 was built to run for long periods using its afterburner, a feature that adds extra fuel to increase thrust and speed. Most engines use their afterburner for short bursts, but the J58 was different. It was the first engine ever approved for flying at Mach 3 for extended periods by the U.S. Air Force. One of the most impressive parts of the J58 engine was its smart design. It had special nozzles that could change shape to control the air coming into the engine. This allowed the air to go straight into the afterburner, instead of through other parts of the engine, which made the aircraft even faster. This smart use of airflow and heat is one of the reasons the SR-71 could reach such incredible speeds without falling apart or losing control. The SR-71 could fly over enemy territory, take pictures from the edge of space, and leave before anyone could respond. Even decades later, the Blackbird still holds records for speed and altitude. The promise of the SR-72 is to build on that legacy, using even more advanced engines and technology. Back in 2017, Orlando Carvalho, who was then the executive vice president of aeronautics at Lockheed Martin, dropped a few thrilling hints about what's coming. He didn't share much, but what he did say sent a shockwave through the defense world. According to Carvalho, the Skunk Works team in Palmdale, California, is doubling down on our commitment to speed. Hypersonics is like stealth. It's a disruptive technology. He even hinted that the aircraft could operate at speeds 2 to 3 times faster than the Blackbird, meaning it could fly at more than 5 times the speed of sound. That's Mach 5 and beyond hypersonic territory. Though much of the SR-72's design remains classified, analysts and aviation experts have tried to piece together what it might be capable of. If Lockheed Martin truly manages to create a working version of the SR-72, it would be nearly untouchable by today's air defenses. No radar system or missile would be able to track or stop it in time. It would fly in, gather intelligence, or strike targets, and be gone before anyone even noticed it was there. That kind of speed and stealth would make it a game changer in future wars. Some believe that the SR-72 will be unmanned and powered by a new type of hybrid engine, something that can switch between jet and rocket power. This would allow the plane to take off like a regular aircraft and then quickly jump to hypersonic speed. It would be fast, agile, and deadly. And because it's still in development, it's likely being tested in secret locations, possibly even flying high above our heads without anyone knowing. Experts also believe that it will use a special engine known as a turbine-based combined cycle, or TBCC. This engine combines a regular jet engine used for flying at subsonic and supersonic speeds with a scramjet, which kicks in at hypersonic levels. This mix would allow the aircraft to reach speeds of Mach 6, which means flying around 2 kilometers every second. Reaching hypersonic speed, anything above Mach 5, offers a massive advantage in modern warfare. Traditionally, aircraft relied on stealth design to avoid radar detection. This involves shaping the plane and using special materials to reduce its radar signature. But the SR-72's extreme speed offers a different kind of stealth. It can simply outrun threats rather than sneak past them. At this level of speed, surface-to-air missile systems would barely have time to react. By the time radar detects the aircraft, it could already be on its way out of the target zone. Enemy defenses would be left scrambling, giving the jet a major upper hand. It could fly into places that slower jets, even those built with advanced stealth features, would not dare enter. Moving at around 2 kilometers per second means the SR-72 could cross huge distances in minutes. That gives it the power to perform critical missions, like surveillance or quick strikes, before an enemy even realizes it's there. No current aircraft in service can match that level of performance. Experts believe that if a test version, called a demonstrator, can fly smoothly at Mach 6 using the new TBCC technology, it could spark a global race to build hypersonic combat aircraft. According to the Royal United Services Institute, a respected military think tank, this would be similar to the international race to develop fifth-generation stealth fighters, which has already seen fierce competition between the United States, Russia, China, and India. If this race begins, countries across the world may rush to create their own versions of hypersonic jets, just like they did with stealth aircraft. And it wouldn't just be about speed. These new planes could also carry powerful sensors, weapons, and intelligence systems, changing the way future wars are fought. While it could easily outrun today's defensive missile systems, the technology aimed at shooting down fast-moving aircraft is catching up quickly, and hypersonic jets are no longer guaranteed safe passage. The Royal United Services Institute, a respected defense think tank, explains, certainly a cruise speed of Mach 6 at operating altitudes of around 100,000 feet would make the SR-72 extremely challenging to intercept using traditional surface-to-air missile systems. However, they warn that the growing strength of anti-ballistic missile technology might eventually close that gap. For instance, the Raytheon Standard Missile 3 has already proven that it can destroy not only ballistic missiles, but also satellites orbiting close to Earth. These missiles aren't even meant for anti-aircraft duties, yet their ability to intercept targets flying at extremely high altitudes and closing speeds over 22,000 miles per hour is a serious wake-up call. If these systems continue evolving, then by the time the SR-72 enters service, likely around the year 2030, new SAM systems might be built with similar capabilities, making even hypersonic jets vulnerable. That said, the SR-72 still fills a massive gap in America's military playbook. When the legendary SR-71 Blackbird was retired back in 1998, the United States lost the power to conduct high-speed, deep-penetration reconnaissance missions. No other aircraft could soar across entire countries in just minutes while staying far above enemy radar or missile systems. Satellites are helpful, but they can't always be moved or redirected quickly in real time, and their predictable orbits limit surprise surveillance. A plane like the SR-72 would restore America's ability to collect fast, actionable intelligence during emergencies or conflicts. Besides reconnaissance, the SR-72 could potentially carry advanced weapons. Its hypersonic speed means it can launch attacks before an enemy even knows it's coming. This would be game-changing, especially in regions like the Indo-Pacific, where fast strikes could make the difference between controlling or losing key airspace. But raw speed has its limits. Flying at Mach 6 is great until someone figures out how to shoot you down anyway. And as the defense world has shown time and time again, any advantage is temporary. Technology never stands still. What's secure today might be exposed tomorrow. By the time the SR-72 is fully operational, its enemies may already be developing missiles designed specifically to hunt it down. Still, it's not all about weapons and dodging missiles. The real power of the SR-72 may lie in what it represents. A leap into the future. It's not just faster than anything else, it's the next step in air warfare. A jet that flies at nearly 2 kilometers per second, cruising above 100,000 feet, and racing across skies most aircraft will never touch is a powerful symbol. If it works as planned, the SR-72 won't just be a replacement for the past, it will redefine how nations think about speed, reach, and air dominance. The strategic reconnaissance. 71 Blackbird set breathtaking records that still remain unbeaten. It reached a top speed of over 2,100 miles per hour and soared to an altitude of more than 85,000 feet. These achievements made it one of the fastest and highest flying aircraft ever built. While satellites have now taken over most of its surveillance duties, they follow fixed orbits, making them less flexible than a piloted aircraft that can be deployed quickly and redirected as needed. This is where the potential of the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 comes in. Though still in the early stages, the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 is being developed as a hypersonic reconnaissance and strike aircraft. Designed by Lockheed Martin, it aims to travel at speeds around Mach 6, or roughly 4,600 miles per hour. If successful, this jet would far surpass its predecessor in both speed and mission capability, able to gather intelligence and possibly strike targets before enemies even realize it's there. Lockheed Martin believes this ambitious plan is within reach, despite the many technological challenges it presents. The company has shown confidence that with the right innovations, the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 could become a reality. Reports in the past suggested the aircraft might be ready by the year 2030. While this is still just a projection, it hints at how serious the defense industry is about reviving high-speed manned surveillance missions. If Lockheed Martin manages to stay on schedule and develop this new jet, it would mark a major breakthrough in modern aviation. The creation of such a hypersonic aircraft would not just be an engineering marvel, it could also reshape military strategy. It would offer unmatched speed and flexibility for missions that require quick decisions and responses. Unlike traditional stealth aircraft that rely heavily on radar evasion, the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 would focus on speed as its main defense. Its high altitude and rapid pace would make it extremely difficult to intercept. And even if missile systems improve by the time the aircraft is operational, flying faster than most missiles could still keep it safe in contested airspace. Despite being in its conceptual phase, the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 has caught the attention of defense experts, aviation enthusiasts, and global militaries. Its potential to deliver real-time intelligence, conduct precision strikes, and avoid enemy defenses could fill a gap left by the retirement of the Strategic Reconnaissance 71 in 1998. That aircraft's retirement left the United States without a fast response surveillance tool that could sweep over vast areas in minutes. Whether the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 becomes a working aircraft by the early 20s or not, the technology behind it is already sparking conversations and investments. If built, it could define the future of air, reconnaissance, and strike capability for the next generation. If Israel were to acquire the Strategic Reconnaissance 72, its Air Force and intelligence capabilities would take a dramatic leap forward. Flying at hypersonic speeds and extreme altitudes, this aircraft could slip into hostile airspace, photograph troop movements or missile sites, and be clear of danger before radar systems even register its presence. That kind of real-time intelligence would let Israeli commanders see an unfolding threat as it happens, enabling faster, more precise decisions and reducing the fog of war. Beyond spying, the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 could carry smart munitions to strike critical enemy infrastructure with almost no warning. Imagine a jet that swoops in, releases a precision weapon against a missile launcher or a command bunker, and races back out before defenses have a chance to react. In confrontations with non-state groups like Hezbollah or more sophisticated foes, those hit-and-run raids would be devastating, forcing adversaries to disperse forces or keep key assets hidden at all times. The psychological effect would be just as important as the physical strikes. When potential enemies know that Israel possesses an aircraft no one can catch, they become more cautious about massing troops or launching surprise attacks. This builds a powerful layer of deterrence because the cost of provocation suddenly rises. Any hostile action could be observed and punished with virtually no warning. Yet the introduction of such a fast jet would also spark countermeasures. Neighboring states would invest heavily in anti-hypersonic defenses, from faster interceptor missiles to space-based tracking sensors or directed energy weapons. Israel, in turn, would need secure hangars and rapid response maintenance to keep its fleet safe on the ground and ready to fly. As each side chases new technologies, a fresh regional arms race could emerge, one focused on sheer speed and instantaneous response. In future conflicts, the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 would likely shape Israel's opening moves on the battlefield. Rapid intelligence gathering and pinpoint strikes in the first hours could disable an enemy's command and control, communications, or missile batteries long before their forces can mobilize. Over time, military planners would design doctrines around hyper-rapid campaigns, where victory could hinge on who can see and strike first. Although no aircraft is invincible, adding the Strategic Reconnaissance 72 to Israel's arsenals would redefine air power in the region. It would turbocharge surveillance and strike missions, strengthen deterrence, and force everyone, friends and foes alike, to rethink how wars are fought and prevented. On May 8, 2026, the U.S. government released classified UFO files that confirm what researchers have been saying for decades. Not grainy footage, not pilot testimonies that get dismissed at press briefings. Actual program documents from inside the U.S. intelligence apparatus confirming that non-human craft have been recovered. But here's what the headlines are missing. The real story isn't that UFOs are real. It's that the U.S. has had them for decades, handed them to defense contractors, and has been quietly learning how to fly them. The release covers documents spanning multiple agencies, including the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Office of Naval Intelligence, and several programs that had no public name until this month. What makes this different from every prior disclosure is the language. Previous releases talked about unidentified aerial phenomena in careful, detached terms. These documents use phrases like recovered non-human origin craft and material of non-terrestrial manufacture. That's not bureaucratic hedging. That's an admission. The scope of what dropped in May is wide, but it's the gaps that tell the deeper story. Whole sections are redacted. Specific program names appear once and then disappear behind black bars for the next 30 pages. You can see the shape of something much larger being deliberately kept out of frame. Several documents reference programs that connect directly to known black budget operations. The names won't be familiar to most people, but defense researchers have been tracking anomalous budget line items for years. Money that flows into programs with no public description and no congressional oversight record. What the May 8th files do is start filling in what some of that money was actually for. So why release any of this now? The answer is congressional pressure that's been building since 2023, combined with whistleblower protection legislation that made it legally safer for insiders to come forward. The UAP Disclosure Act forced the hand of agencies that would have sat on this indefinitely. Multiple former program officials had already testified under oath to the Senate Armed Services Committee that recovery programs existed. Once that's on the congressional record, full suppression becomes harder to maintain. Then there's AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which was set up in 2022 and spent 2 years publicly stating there was no evidence of recovered craft or reverse engineering programs. The May 8th documents directly contradict that position. Reports from inside AARO's own analysis chain reference material studies and propulsion research that don't match anything in the known aerospace inventory. The office was telling Congress one thing while its own classified reporting said something else entirely. One document that's getting a lot of attention references a program structure described as a tiered controlled access program, meaning it's classified above top secret in a way that legally exempts it from standard congressional oversight. That structure is how you hide something for 50 years without a single budget hearing exposing it. The program isn't in the black budget because it technically doesn't exist inside the normal classification architecture. It exists in a separate layer that most of the government can't even ask about. What's confirmed in the files, taken together, is this. Craft of non-human origin were recovered. Materials from those craft were transferred to contractors for analysis, and at least some of that work involved propulsion systems that don't match any known physics framework. The documents don't explain how far that work progressed, but they confirm it happened, and they confirm it's been happening for a long time. The files confirm recovery. But recovery is only the beginning of this story. What the U.S. did with what it found, who did the work, and what they've actually built from it, that's what the next layer of documents starts to reveal. If you wanted to hide the most advanced aerospace program in human history, Lockheed's Skunk Works facility in Palmdale, California, is exactly where you'd put it. This is the same operation that built the U-2 spy plane in total secrecy during the 1950s, then followed it with the SR-71 Blackbird, which flew so fast and so high that nothing could touch it. Then came the F-117, the world's first operational stealth aircraft, which the Air Force publicly denied existed for years while it was already flying combat missions. Skunk Works doesn't just build classified aircraft, it builds things the rest of the world won't believe are possible until they're already obsolete. The May 8th files reference contractor involvement in material analysis going back decades. Lockheed is named in connection with propulsion research tied to recovered craft, and the language used isn't vague. One document describes a materials transfer to a cleared defense contractor facility for analysis of non-conventional propulsion elements. Skunk Works has the clearance infrastructure, the physical security, and the engineering depth to run exactly that kind of program without a single public trace. Raytheon's role is different, but just as telling. Where Lockheed is about airframes and propulsion, Raytheon specializes in the sensor and weapon systems that would need to interface with whatever gets built. Their classified divisions have been working on directed energy weapons and advanced electromagnetic systems for years, and several of those programs have budget lines that dwarf their known output. If you're reverse engineering a craft that manipulates electromagnetic fields for propulsion, you need Raytheon-level expertise to understand what you're actually measuring. Their involvement points to a program that's moved well past basic materials analysis into something that requires operational hardware. The structure that makes all of this legally possible is called a Controlled Access Program, or CAP. It sits above top secret clearance and operates outside the standard congressional budget review process. A program inside a CAP doesn't appear in defense appropriations hearings. It doesn't get reviewed by the Armed Services Committee. The people running it can legally tell senators it doesn't exist, because inside the classification framework, it technically doesn't. This is how you spend decades and billions of dollars on something with no public record. The money moves through layers of contractor sub-accounting that were specifically designed to be untraceable. Bob Lazar described this exact architecture in 1989. He said he worked at a facility near Area 51 called S4, where 9 recovered craft were stored and studied. He described a propulsion system built around a stable isotope of element 115, which he called moscovium, that generated a gravitational field used for propulsion. At the time, element 115 didn't officially exist on the periodic table. It was synthesized and confirmed in 2003. Lazar's technical descriptions were specific enough and accurate enough on points that couldn't have been guessed, that dismissing him as a fraud requires ignoring a lot of inconvenient detail. The May 8th files don't mention him by name, but the propulsion research they reference lines up with what he described 37 years ago. Where does the money come from? Defense analysts who track black budget allocations have flagged a category of aerospace spending that's grown by roughly 300% since the early 2000s, with no corresponding increase in known program output, no new aircraft, no announced propulsion contracts, no patents filed. That money went somewhere, and based on what the files released describe, the answer is becoming harder to argue with. Start with what Navy pilots actually recorded, because that's where the physics breaks down in a way you can't explain away. The Tic Tac incident from 2004 gave us something rare: military sensor data, trained observers, and a craft that performed maneuvers no known aircraft can execute. Commander David Fravor watched it drop from 80,000 feet to sea level in under a second, stop dead, then accelerate in a completely different direction with no transition, no arc, no deceleration curve. Just an instantaneous change of vector at speeds that would reduce a human pilot to a stain on the seat. The G-force involved in that kind of movement, by any conventional physics calculation, would be somewhere between 400 and 700 Gs. A human body starts losing consciousness around 9 Gs. Whatever was inside that craft, if anything was, it wasn't being subjected to the same forces the airframe was generating. That's the first thing that separates these craft from everything else. They don't appear to be affected by inertia. When your car accelerates, you feel it push you back into the seat because your body has mass and resists the change in motion. These craft move as if that relationship between mass and acceleration has been switched off. The engineering community's best working theory is electromagnetic field manipulation, where the craft generates a localized field that essentially warps the space it's moving through, so the craft and everything inside it moves together without experiencing the directional forces that would normally apply. You're not pushing through space, you're moving the space around you. Then there's the propulsion signature, or more accurately, the complete absence of one. Every aircraft ever built leaves traces: heat bloom from engines, exhaust gases, a pressure wave that generates a sonic boom above the speed of sound. These craft produce none of that. Radar tracks them at speeds well above Mach 1 with no sonic signature. Infrared sensors find no heat output. There's no jet wash, no plasma trail, nothing that conventional propulsion would leave behind. Whatever is moving them isn't burning anything and isn't pushing against the air. The altitude performance compounds this, from a standing hover at low altitude to above 80,000 feet in a matter of seconds, with no acceleration phase, no engine spool-up, no detectable thrust vector. That's not improved propulsion, that's a different category of physics entirely. Stealth properties add another layer. These craft don't just absorb radar the way an F-22 does with its angled surfaces and radar-absorbing materials. They disappear from multiple sensor types simultaneously. Radar, infrared, optical tracking, all go blank at the same moment. That kind of cross-spectrum disappearance suggests the craft can manipulate its own electromagnetic signature across every detection wavelength at once, not just deflect one type of sensor. Now factor in the TR-3B, a triangular craft reported independently by dozens of witnesses across multiple countries over the past 30 years, always described the same way. Silent, slow-moving at low altitude, capable of accelerating away at speeds that leave no trace on radar. The consistency of those descriptions across unconnected sources is hard to write off. If the reverse engineering programs described in the May 8th files produced a flying prototype, a triangular platform would be a logical airframe choice for a craft using field-based propulsion rather than conventional thrust. Even replicating 20% of what these craft can do would make the result invisible to every air defense system on the planet. No radar lock, no heat-seeking missile track, no intercept solution. If the US has crossed that threshold, the gap between American air power and every other nation isn't measured in generations. It's measured in physics. China's DFZF hypersonic glide vehicle tops out around Mach 10. Russia's Avangard system reaches Mach 27 under ideal conditions. Both represent years of development and genuine engineering achievement. They're also still moving through the atmosphere the same way a rock moves when you throw it, subject to drag, heat, gravity, and tracking solutions that improve every year. Western air defense systems have already started adapting to hypersonic threats. The physics is understood. The countermeasures are being built. A craft that produces no radar return, no heat signature, and no inertial profile isn't a faster version of the same problem. It's a problem that existing defense architecture has no answer for, because every detection and intercept system ever built assumes the target is operating inside Newtonian physics. You can't compute an intercept solution for something that changes direction instantaneously. You can't guide a missile to a heat source that doesn't exist. You can't jam a craft that's already invisible to every wavelength you're transmitting. That's what makes the strategic gap here different from any prior technology advantage. When the US fielded the F-117, it took years before adversaries developed radar systems capable of tracking low observable aircraft. Eventually they did. The physics was still the same, just harder to work with. What the May 8th files point toward is a capability that doesn't give adversaries a longer timeline to adapt. It gives them no pathway at all, because the underlying physics isn't an evolution of what they already understand. The surveillance applications alone would reshape geopolitics entirely. A platform that can reach any point on Earth undetected, loiter without any thermal or electromagnetic trace, and exit before any response is mounted gives the US an intelligence collection capability with no precedent. Every facility, every command structure, every weapons program a foreign government believes is hidden becomes visible, and they'd never know it happened. That's why this stayed buried for so long. Releasing it doesn't just trigger an arms race. It collapses the entire framework of mutual deterrence that international security has been built on since the 1950s. Every treaty negotiated under the assumption that both sides had roughly comparable detection and strike capabilities becomes meaningless. Every military alliance recalculates its value. The geopolitical order restructures overnight and not in ways anyone can fully predict. Lockheed and Raytheon aren't going to confirm any of this. The program managers who ran these operations signed agreements that don't expire and carry criminal consequences. But the May 8th documents are doing something those individuals can't stop. They're assembling the outline of a program that was never supposed to have an outline. Each redacted page still shows you where the edges are. And the edges are a lot larger than anyone outside this program was supposed to know. The US didn't just recover something, it spent decades turning that recovery into operational hardware, and the rest of the world is only now finding out that race was run without them. What dropped isn't the end of the story, it's the first time the story got official edges. The US has been flying ahead of the known world for decades, and the files are finally saying what the contractors never will. America's secret ghost jet may soon appear on the USS Gerald Ford, shocking Pentagon officials and rivals. This tailless, triangle-shaped fighter boasts smart-skin sensors, laser weapons, and hypersonic speeds of over 6,000 miles per hour. It can even command a swarm of robotic wingmen. Earlier stealth jets seem obsolete in comparison. Has the US Navy just rewritten the rules of aerial warfare? And how will China and Russia react to this invisible predator of the skies? Join us as we unveil the 7th-generation fighter jet before it makes it on the United States aircraft carrier. The sky above the USS Gerald Ford lit up with a bright blue flash as something incredible took place. After nearly a century of struggle, the United States Navy had finally solved one of its biggest challenges. Carrier-based jets could now match or even surpass land-based fighters. For years, aircraft carriers had a major disadvantage. Their jets had to be smaller, lighter, and carry less fuel compared to those launching from land. As countries like China and Russia built powerful land-based fighters and long-range missiles, many experts doubted whether carriers could hold their ground in modern warfare. That changed with the Navy's next-generation air dominance fighter. Unlike the older FA-18 Super Hornets, this new jet brought futuristic technology that had once seemed impossible. It wasn't just a single aircraft, it was the leader of a small team. Each NGAD fighter was paired with autonomous drones, commonly called collaborative combat aircraft. These drones carried extra weapons, sensors, and fuel, following the lead fighter's commands while also making quick decisions on their own. A single pilot could now manage what used to take several people. The USS Gerald Ford's firepower grew even stronger with the addition of the Helios laser weapon system. This powerful 150-kilowatt laser could track and destroy incoming missiles and enemy drones almost instantly. Unlike traditional missiles that could run out, the laser remained operational as long as the ship had power. Most people had no idea how fast this technology was advancing. When an Air Force official revealed in 2020 that a test version of the NGAD fighter had already flown, defense experts were caught off guard. The Navy had been quietly working on this breakthrough for more than 7 years, replacing outdated systems from the 1990s with cutting-edge technology designed for the future. The USS Gerald Ford was designed with cutting-edge advancements in mind. As the Navy's most sophisticated aircraft carrier, it featured electromagnetic catapults that propelled aircraft more swiftly and effectively than traditional steam-powered systems. Its nuclear reactors generated the vast energy required for the Helios laser. The NGAD fighter also looked completely different from older jets. It had no vertical tail fins and featured a sleek triangular design, allowing it to fly in ways that would have made traditional aircraft lose control. Advanced computer systems made thousands of tiny adjustments every second to keep it steady and maneuverable. In training exercises, the results spoke for themselves. Against experienced pilots flying F-35s, the NGAD fighter and its robotic wingmen won nearly every simulated battle. The difference was overwhelming. For countries that had spent billions developing anti-ship missiles to keep United States carriers at a distance, this presented a serious problem. With these new jets, carriers could now operate much closer to enemy territory without fear. For the first time since World War II, carrier-based jets weren't just keeping up with land-based fighters, they were better. This wasn't just an upgrade. As the sun set behind the carrier, the new fighter launched into the night, its silhouette blending into the sky. The aircraft represented a development in naval warfare. What happens when these advanced fighters go beyond the clouds and into the vast darkness of space? Could the next generation of American warplanes be used as spacecraft? Engineers across America are already working on technologies beyond those used on the USS Gerald Ford. While naval aviation advances, the next leap is happening in secret labs. The goal isn't just faster planes, it's aircraft that can move between air and space. These next-generation hypersonic fighters could transform aerial combat. Traveling above Mach 5, more than 6,000 kilometers per hour, they could cross continents in minutes. A fighter this fast could fly from New York to Los Angeles in under 30 minutes, making it nearly impossible to track, let alone stop. Building such an aircraft comes with massive challenges. At extreme speeds, air friction generates heat strong enough to melt standard materials. To solve this, the Air Force and NASA are developing heat-resistant composites that can withstand over 2,000 degrees Celsius without breaking apart. Propulsion is another hurdle. Regular jet engines can't function well at extreme speeds or in the thin upper atmosphere. That's where scramjets come in. Unlike traditional engines, scramjets have no moving parts. They use the aircraft's speed to compress incoming air, generating thrust. Since 2018, the Air Force's Mayhem project has been testing scramjet prototypes, gradually improving their performance. Unlike earlier fighter jets, these advanced aircraft wouldn't just fly high, they could briefly leave Earth's atmosphere. By reaching altitudes above 100 kilometers, they could enter a suborbital path, skipping across the upper atmosphere like a stone across water. This would allow them to strike targets with almost no warning, conduct surveillance from altitudes beyond the reach of anti-aircraft weapons, and even deploy small satellites to restore communications in combat zones. The United States military has been quietly funding this research for years. DARPA has been working on airspace transition vehicles since 2020, focusing on designs that can move between the atmosphere and space without rockets or launch pads. But breaking into space creates new risks. Outside Earth's atmosphere, cosmic radiation can damage electronics and pose health risks to pilots. Engineers are developing shielding and radiation-resistant computer systems to keep these aircraft safe. Fuel is another challenge. Traditional jets can refuel mid-air, but space-capable aircraft need an energy source powerful enough to push them beyond most of Earth's gravity and still bring them back safely. Advanced hydrogen propulsion is one possible solution, providing high energy output with only water as a byproduct. The race to develop this technology is already underway. China is rapidly increasing its hypersonic research budget, while Russia's PAKDP program is working on similar aircraft. Any country that masters space-capable fighters will gain a major military advantage. This also raises legal questions. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty bans nuclear weapons in space, but doesn't address conventional weapons or temporary military operations beyond Earth's atmosphere. This loophole has sparked new debates at the United Nations about the future of space warfare. Even the best pilots would need entirely new training for these aircraft. At hypersonic speeds, decisions must be made in milliseconds, too fast for human reaction times. AI assistance and augmented reality systems would have to predict and respond to problems before they happen. The Air Force is already preparing for this future. Specialized bases are being upgraded to support these hybrid airspace vehicles, with reinforced hangars, advanced cooling systems, and specialized fuel storage facilities built to handle the extreme demands of hypersonic flight. While sixth-generation fighters represent the future of modern warfare, these seventh-generation space fighters are something entirely different. The line between science fiction and military reality is disappearing fast. What once seemed impossible is now just a matter of time. As these jets push the limits of technology, the big question is, who or what will be in the pilot's seat? Behind closed doors in high-tech labs across America, engineers have been building the brains of future warplanes long before a single piece of metal is cut. Before these next-generation fighters take shape, their artificial intelligence is already training in virtual battles against the world's best pilots. AI is no longer just a co-pilot, it is being designed to take over entirely. What began as basic autopilot and warning systems soon expanded to flight guidance and real-time threat analysis. Now, cutting-edge AI can autonomously execute complex combat missions, making split-second decisions faster than any human pilot. A breakthrough came with the Pentagon's Project Maven. Launched in 2017, it began by teaching AI to recognize objects in drone footage. Over time, the system evolved to track multiple moving targets, even through clouds, smoke, and electronic interference. The next generation of warplanes will look unlike anything seen before. There will be no cockpits or instrument panels, just advanced processors, cooling systems, and AI-powered decision-making packed inside a sleek, high-speed airframe. These aircraft will be more like flying supercomputers than traditional jets, controlling weapons, sensors, and engines with machine intelligence. The way these planes are built is also changing. In factories across Nevada and California, massive 3D metal printers are already shaping experimental aircraft parts. These machines create complex designs layer by layer, using titanium and carbon fiber, making structures that were previously impossible with older manufacturing methods. This advancement accelerates production at an unprecedented rate. In the past, developing and testing a new design could take several years, involving extensive prototyping, manual adjustments, and countless trial and error phases. Now, with advanced automation and AI-driven simulations, the entire process can be streamlined, reducing development time to just weeks. Engineers can rapidly iterate designs, test performance in virtual environments, and refine prototypes with real-time data, allowing for faster innovation and deployment. Engineers feed designs into simulations where AI runs countless virtual test flights, refining the aircraft before a real one is built. Only the best designs move forward, ensuring each new fighter is an improvement over the last. Military planners see an opportunity in this rapid development cycle. Instead of producing hundreds of identical jets that risk becoming outdated, they can create smaller batches that evolve over time. Each generation learns from the last, making the fleet smarter and more adaptable. Another breakthrough is the concept of smart skin. Instead of mounting separate radar and sensors, the entire surface of these aircraft will be covered in tiny sensors, turning the whole plane into a flying surveillance system. Traditional jets have blind spots; these will have none, detecting threats from all directions and instantly sharing that data with other AI-powered aircraft. This real-time connection gives AI-controlled jets a major edge. Multiple fighters can operate as a single intelligent unit, responding to threats as a team. Smaller, unmanned drone fighters, built at a fraction of the cost, can fly alongside, carrying extra weapons, scouting ahead, or even sacrificing themselves to protect the primary aircraft. But with AI-driven warfare, ethical concerns grow. Military rules state that a human must have meaningful control over combat decisions. Yet at hypersonic speeds, human reaction time simply cannot match AI decision-making measured in microseconds. The Navy has formed an advisory board to address these concerns, ensuring AI follows rules of engagement and minimizes unnecessary harm. However, programming a machine to understand restraint and proportionality remains an unsolved challenge. Technical hurdles also remain. AI-driven aircraft require immense computing power, generating extreme heat. Scientists are exploring quantum computing and advanced cooling systems to keep these machines running efficiently. And while AI has mastered strategy games like chess, aerial combat is far more unpredictable. Training AI pilots in massive simulation environments is key to sharpening their combat skills. The combination of rapid manufacturing and AI autonomy is reshaping aerial warfare. The nation that perfects this technology first will gain an overwhelming advantage, one where warplanes don't just fly, but learn, adapt, and improve with every mission. Even the most advanced fighter jet loses its edge if the enemy spots it from miles away. But what if these new warplanes could completely disappear even from human sight? The most surprising thing about the next generation of fighter jets isn't what they have, it's what they don't. The familiar vertical tails that have defined military aircraft for over a century are gone. Sharp edges and visible engine intakes are missing too. Instead, these jets have a smooth, flowing shape that looks strange to experienced pilots. With soft edges and no clear front or back from certain angles, the design defies traditional aerodynamics and stability rules. It resembles a flying triangle more than a conventional aircraft. This groundbreaking transformation is the result of decades of advancements in stealth technology. The first-generation stealth aircraft, such as the F-117 Nighthawk, relied on angular surfaces to scatter radar signals. The B-2 Spirit bomber improved upon this by incorporating smooth curved contours to further reduce detectability. Today, the most advanced designs push the boundaries even further, striving for near total invisibility to enemy radar systems. Older planes needed vertical tails for stability, but those tails made them easy radar targets. Engineers replaced them with an advanced flow control system originally tested on the B-2. Instead of stabilizers, hundreds of tiny air jets adjust the aircraft's balance in real time. A computer makes constant corrections, ensuring smooth flight without traditional control surfaces. The aircraft's skin also enhances stealth. Radar-absorbing materials are built directly into the structure, making them more durable than older coatings that wore off. Some sections even contain carbon nanotube layers that absorb radar signals and release the energy as harmless heat. Heat detection is another challenge. Fighter jet engines produce extreme heat, making them easy targets for infrared sensors. New designs cool the exhaust before it leaves the aircraft, then spread the remaining heat over a wider area, reducing their infrared signature. This makes it harder for heat-seeking missiles to lock on. Beyond stealth, these jets are built for adaptability. Older fighters were rigidly designed, meaning upgrading one system often required redesigning the entire aircraft. The new generation features modular components, allowing engineers to swap out weapons, sensors, and avionics quickly without major overhauls. This approach cuts costs and extends the aircraft's lifespan. Instead of waiting years for a completely new model, militaries can upgrade existing jets in weeks. Experts estimate this could reduce costs by 30 to 40% compared to today's most advanced fighters. For radar operators, detecting these aircraft is becoming nearly impossible. Older stealth jets had radar signatures the size of a small bird. Today's fighters appear smaller than a marble. The goal is to become virtually invisible to radar altogether. Even spotting these jets with the naked eye is difficult. Adaptive camouflage panels on their surface can change color to blend with the sky or terrain below. While not true invisibility, this makes them extremely hard to track visually, especially from a distance. Every aspect of these jets is built for real-world combat. Critical areas are reinforced to withstand damage, maintenance access points are easier to reach, and vital systems have built-in backups. These improvements come directly from lessons learned in modern warfare. Stealth technology has always been a cat-and-mouse game. As enemy sensors evolve, stealth aircraft must adapt. With flexible designs and cutting-edge technology, these new jets are built to stay ahead, ensuring dominance in future battles. As America leads in stealth tech, others race to catch up. How did a marketing move spark a trillion-dollar power struggle? The idea of fighter jet generations didn't start with military strategists or aviation pioneers. It was a marketing move by Lockheed Martin. In the early 2000s, the company needed a way to make its new F-35 fighter stand out. The solution they came up with was to call it fifth generation, making everything else seem outdated. The term caught on. Soon, military officials, journalists, and analysts worldwide adopted the classification. Older jets were retroactively sorted into generations. The Korean War-era F-86 Sabre became first generation, the Vietnam-era F-4 Phantom was third generation, and Europe's Eurofighter Typhoon landed in the fourth generation category. What began as a sales tactic reshaped global defense strategy. Countries now felt pressured to keep up. When China unveiled its J-20 in 2011, state media repeatedly emphasized one point. It was China's first fifth-generation fighter. The message was clear. China had joined an exclusive club previously limited to the United States and Russia. India accelerated its fifth-generation program. Japan prioritized acquiring such capabilities. South Korea launched an ambitious effort to build its own next-generation fighter instead of buying from abroad. This marketing-driven shift overlooked an important fact. Before generational labels took hold, countries evaluated fighters by their capabilities, not arbitrary classifications. The French Rafale and Swedish Gripen featured advanced technologies that rivaled early fifth-generation jets. Yet they were dismissed as merely 4.5 generation. The United States officially moved towards sixth-generation fighters in 2014 with DARPA's Air Dominance Initiative, securing nearly $1 billion in early funding. By 2020, the Air Force confirmed that a demonstrator had already flown successfully, pushing rivals to accelerate their programs. China responded by reorganizing its aerospace sector, pouring funds into AI and advanced materials research. Satellite images soon revealed remote test sites where experimental aircraft could fly unobserved. Despite economic struggles, Russia pressed forward with its PAKDP program to replace the aging MiG-31. Officials highlighted its planned ability to operate at extreme altitudes, an apparent counter to United States' interest in space-capable fighters. European nations, unable to match these investments alone, formed cooperative ventures. The UK-led Tempest project partnered with Italy and Sweden, while France, Germany, and Spain joined forces on the Future Combat Air System. Both programs aimed to maintain European defense independence rather than rely on American jets. Historically, new fighter generations emerge every 10 to 15 years. Now, the leap from 5th to 6th generation may take 25 to 30 years due to rising costs and complexity. 7th generation concepts might not enter service until the 2070s, marking the longest development cycle in fighter history. Meanwhile, the B-52 bomber offers a different approach. First deployed in 1955, it has been continuously upgraded and could serve for a century, proving that evolution sometimes beats revolution. Lockheed Martin, which started this generational race, continues teasing the future. At its Skunk Works 80th anniversary, a mystery aircraft appeared alongside historic designs like the U-2 and SR-71, potentially America's next fighter. With future programs expected to cost hundreds of billions, international collaboration is now essential. What began as a marketing ploy has reshaped global military aviation, making generational labels a defining factor in national security and defense spending. When the Anka-3 emerged from its hangar in November 2023, defense analysts around the world had to do a double take. This was not supposed to happen. A country that had been locked out of the F-35 program just a few years earlier had somehow built a flying wing stealth combat drone that looked like it belonged in a superpower's arsenal. How did Turkey pull this off? And what does their sudden emergence as a stealth aircraft manufacturer mean for an already tense global defense landscape? Join us as we explore the 10 most shocking aspects of Turkey's Anka-3 program. The event took place at the Turkish aerospace industry site close to Ankara during what was meant to be a normal display of Turkey's increasing defense abilities. Journalists were invited, along with military leaders and some foreign guests. No one anticipated what would happen next. When the hangar doors opened and the Anka-3 appeared, everyone fell silent. People were amazed not only because Turkey created a stealth drone, but also because of the specific type of stealth drone they built. The design, shaped like a flying wing with no vertical fins and smooth surfaces, showed some of the best aerospace engineering globally. Other countries with much more experience and money had a hard time getting this design right. Yet Turkey presented something that seemed to fit in the same category as the American B-21 Raider or the Chinese GJ-11. Defense journalists and military attachés started taking photos immediately. Some were impressed, calling it a genuine breakthrough that nobody saw coming. Others were skeptical, questioning whether the aircraft was actually functional or just a full-scale mock-up designed to generate headlines. A few Western analysts seemed almost offended, as if Turkey had broken some unspoken rule about who gets to build fifth-generation stealth aircraft. Regardless of their reactions, everyone understood they were witnessing something significant. The aircraft itself looked menacing in person. Painted in a dark gray scheme with sharp angular edges blending into smooth curves, it had that distinctive tailless flying wing profile that signals stealth to anyone who knows aircraft design. No tail fins jutting up to catch radar. No obvious engine intakes creating radar hotspots. Just clean, continuous surfaces designed to scatter electromagnetic waves in every direction except back toward the source. Turkish officials spoke briefly at the presentation. They said the aircraft is called the Anka and that it is made for high altitude, long missions, and will eventually carry smart bombs. After that, they stopped talking. There were no details about its specifications, performance, or when it would be ready for use. The message was clear. Turkey had built something impressive, and the world could figure out the details on its own time. What made the whole thing more shocking was the timeline. Just 4 years earlier, in 2019, the United States had kicked Turkey out of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program. The reason? Turkey had bought Russian S-400 air defense systems and Washington considered that an unacceptable security risk. Losing access to the F-35 was supposed to be devastating for Turkey's Air Force modernization plans. American officials assumed it would force Ankara to come back to the table on American terms. Turkey's aerospace industry did not appear overnight. The country had been building toward this moment for decades, slowly developing the technical expertise and industrial base necessary to design and manufacture advanced aircraft. Turkish Aerospace Industries, the state-owned company behind Anka 3, traces its roots back to the 1970s. Back then, they were assembling American and European aircraft under license, learning the fundamentals of aviation manufacturing one rivet at a time. The real turning point came in the 2000s when Turkey committed to developing indigenous defense capabilities. Tired of depending on foreign suppliers who could cut them off at any moment for political reasons, Ankara started pouring money into domestic research and development. The initial projects were modest, upgrading existing aircraft, developing subsystems, and building unmanned aerial vehicles for reconnaissance missions. Each success built confidence and capability. The original Anka program, which began in the early 2000s, focused on creating a medium-altitude, long-endurance surveillance drone. It was not particularly sophisticated by global standards, but it worked, and more importantly, it was entirely Turkish. Engineers learned how to design airframes, integrate avionics, develop flight control systems, and manage complex aerospace projects from start to finish. Those skills became the foundation for everything that followed. By the time Turkey started working on Anka 3, they had accumulated nearly 2 decades of hands-on experience in unmanned aircraft development. They had also established partnerships with foreign companies willing to share technology, acquired advanced manufacturing equipment, and trained a generation of aerospace engineers who understood both the theory and practice of building military aircraft. The knowledge gap between Turkey and the traditional aerospace powers had been narrowing for years. Anka 3 was the moment that gap closed enough to matter. What separates Anka 3 from earlier Turkish aircraft is not just its stealth characteristics, but also its operational concept. This was designed from the start as a combat platform, not a surveillance asset that might eventually carry weapons. The flying wing configuration maximizes internal weapons bay capacity while maintaining a low radar cross-section. That means Anka 3 can carry precision-guided bombs and air-to-ground missiles hidden inside its fuselage, launching them without compromising its stealth profile. The aircraft reportedly has a wingspan of around 15 meters and an operational ceiling exceeding 40,000 feet. Those numbers put it in the same category as other high-altitude stealth drones, capable of loitering over target areas for extended periods while remaining difficult to detect. The jet engine, which appears to be mounted internally with carefully designed intakes and exhausts, provides the thrust needed for long-range missions and high-speed attacks. Stealth technology requires obsessive attention to detail. Every surface, every seam, every panel has to be precisely engineered to minimize radar reflection. Turkey apparently succeeded in mastering the complex materials, science, computational modeling, and manufacturing precision required to make this work. That alone represents a massive technological achievement, one that places Turkey in an extremely exclusive club of nations capable of producing operational stealth aircraft. The flight control system deserves special attention. Flying wing designs are inherently unstable. Without a traditional tail providing natural stability, the aircraft relies entirely on computer-controlled surfaces and thrust vectoring to stay in the air. The software managing these systems has to make thousands of tiny adjustments per second, correcting for wind, turbulence, and pilot inputs faster than any human could react. Getting that software right requires years of testing and refinement. Turkey apparently got it right. The avionics system is another big success. Modern stealth planes need advanced technology to combine information from radar, infrared cameras, electronic warfare systems, and other sources into one clear view. Anka 3 is said to have a special radar that can track several targets at the same time while staying hard to detect. This type of radar needs advanced technology and processing methods that Turkey likely created or obtained despite restrictions on exports. The weapons integration system also shows considerable sophistication. Internal weapons bays must open, release munitions, and close again in a matter of seconds without compromising stealth. That requires precise mechanical systems, careful aerodynamic design, and software that coordinates everything perfectly. Turkish engineers apparently solved these problems, though exactly how they managed it remains unclear. The aircraft can reportedly carry a mix of guided bombs and cruise missiles, giving it genuine strike capability against both fixed and mobile targets. Building Anka-3 was not just a technical challenge, it was a logistical and industrial one. Creating an aircraft this sophisticated requires hundreds of specialized suppliers, providing everything from advanced composites to precision machine components. Turkey had to either develop these capabilities domestically or find foreign partners willing to provide them, despite potential political pressure from the United States and other Western nations. Reports suggest Turkish engineers faced significant obstacles obtaining certain critical technologies, particularly advanced jet engines and some electronic warfare systems. International arms embargoes and technology transfer restrictions meant they could not simply buy what they needed from established suppliers. Instead, they had to improvise, reverse engineer, and develop indigenous alternatives. The fact that Anka-3 exists at all suggests they succeeded in overcoming most of these obstacles. The engine situation was difficult. High-performance jet engines require exotic materials, precision manufacturing, and decades of accumulated engineering knowledge. Turkey initially tried to develop its own turbofan engine, but apparently encountered difficulties meeting performance requirements. Industry sources suggest they eventually secured engines through partnerships with Ukrainian manufacturers, who faced fewer restrictions on sales to Turkey. Whether those engines meet all of Anka's requirements or represent a temporary solution until domestic alternatives are ready remains unclear. Composite materials were another major hurdle. Stealth aircraft use specialized radar-absorbent materials that are difficult to manufacture and highly classified. Turkey had to either develop these materials from scratch or find suppliers willing to sell them despite potential diplomatic complications. Engineers reportedly spent years experimenting with different chemical formulations and manufacturing processes before achieving materials that met their requirements. Some of those materials may still fall short of what American or Chinese stealth aircraft use, but they apparently work well enough to make Anka genuinely difficult to detect. Testing had its own challenges. Stealth aircraft need specialized facilities to measure their radar cross-sections accurately. They need secure testing ranges where foreign intelligence services cannot easily observe their performance. Turkey reportedly built new testing infrastructure specifically for Anka-3, including radar measurement facilities and expanded flight test ranges. That infrastructure investment will pay dividends for future programs. The reactions from Turkey's NATO allies range from uncomfortable to outright hostile. American defense officials publicly downplayed Anka-3's significance, suggesting it was less capable than Turkish officials claimed. Privately, the response was more concerned. Turkey developing advanced stealth capabilities independently meant they were less dependent on American military technology and therefore harder to influence through traditional diplomatic channels. Greece, Turkey's historic rival and fellow NATO member, watched the unveiling with alarm. The two countries have unresolved territorial disputes in the Aegean Sea and tensions over Cyprus that occasionally flare into military confrontations. The Anka-3 gives Turkey a significant new capability in any potential conflict, one that Greece currently has no equivalent for. Greek defense officials immediately began discussions about acquiring their own advanced drones or developing countermeasures. European countries reacted in different ways. Some, especially those with defense companies that could work with Turkey, saw a chance for cooperation. Others were concerned about stability in the Eastern Mediterranean and whether Turkey's increasing military strength would make it more difficult to control within NATO. Additionally, Turkey's ability to do this while still having ties with Russia raised more worries among Europeans. Russia reacted calmly. Moscow has its own advanced military aircraft programs and probably saw Anka-3 as proof that selling air defense systems to Turkey was a good choice, rather than seeing it as a direct threat. In fact, Turkey's ability to develop its own technology likely made it a more appealing partner for Russia, showing that Turkey has strong technical skills and is willing to resist pressure from the West. Saudi Arabia is interested in Turkish defense products and has already bought earlier versions of the Anka drones for spying missions. The new Anka 3 is a big improvement that might attract the Saudis, especially because they are involved in military actions in Yemen and have issues with Iran. The main concern is whether Turkey would hurt its relationships with Western allies by selling stealth combat drones to controversial customers in the Middle East. The United Arab Emirates faces similar considerations. Abu Dhabi has been working to reduce its dependence on American military technology after Washington blocked certain weapon sales over human rights concerns. Turkish stealth drones offer an attractive alternative, though political complications around the Abraham Accords and Turkish-Israeli tensions could complicate any potential deals. Qatar, which is Turkey's main ally in the Gulf, likely has access to the Anka if they choose to. The two countries work closely together in military matters, including having a Turkish military base in Qatar. If Qatar buys Turkish stealth drones, it could change the power balance in the region, especially with the current tensions with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. This possibility probably worries other Gulf countries a lot. Pakistan is another potential customer with strategic implications. The country maintains close military ties with Turkey and desperately needs to modernize its air capabilities to counter India's growing military strength. Turkish stealth drones could provide Pakistan with asymmetric capabilities against a much larger adversary, though the technology transfer and cost considerations would require careful negotiation. Israel, which maintains a complex relationship with Turkey involving both cooperation and competition, viewed Anka 3 through the lens of regional power dynamics. Israeli defense officials recognized that Turkey was positioning itself as a major military power in the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East. That could complicate Israeli military planning, particularly regarding freedom of action in Syrian airspace. When compared to other stealth combat drones, Anka 3 sits in interesting territory. It is more ambitious than most existing platforms, but less proven than systems from the United States or China. The American MQ-25 Stingray, for example, represents the current state-of-the-art in carrier-based stealth drones, but that program has taken nearly a decade and cost billions of dollars. China's GJ-11 Sharp Sword drone demonstrated flying-wing stealth capabilities years before Anka 3, but details about its operational status remain classified. What makes the Anka 3 particularly significant is not necessarily its absolute capabilities, but what it represents for Turkey's defense industry. This aircraft demonstrates that a nation outside the traditional aerospace superpowers can develop genuinely advanced military aviation technology if they commit sufficient resources and expertise. That changes the calculus for countries considering their own indigenous aircraft programs. The true combat ability of the aircraft is still not tested. Stealth technology is most effective when it works with advanced electronic warfare tools, better sensors, and connections to larger military systems. Creating the aircraft is one task. Creating the whole system that makes it work well in battle is another. Turkey will need many years of testing and improvements before Anka 3 can perform at its best. Turkey having stealth combat drones is important for more than just its military strength. For many years, powerful countries have used advanced military technology to control smaller nations. If you want advanced fighter jets, you need to maintain good relations with the US or Russia. If you need modern air defense systems, you should hope that China or European group agrees with your political stance. Turkey's success with Anka 3 weakens that dynamic. If Ankara can build its own stealth aircraft, other nations might conclude they can too. That could accelerate the proliferation of advanced military technology to countries that previously had no realistic path to acquiring it. The exclusive club of nations capable of producing cutting-edge military aircraft is expanding, and that has profound implications for global security. Regional power balances will change. In the Eastern Mediterranean, Turkey now possesses capabilities that give it significant military advantages over neighbors. In the Middle East, Turkey becomes a more credible military power broker, able to offer sophisticated weapon systems to allies while demonstrating its own technological prowess. That enhanced status could translate into greater diplomatic influence. The relationship between Turkey and NATO faces new complications. Alliance cohesion depends partly on interoperability and shared systems. Turkey increasingly operates military equipment that does not integrate with NATO standard systems, creating potential coordination problems in any joint operations. At the same time, Turkey's enhanced capabilities make it a more valuable ally in scenarios where NATO needs regional military power projection. Arms export markets will also shift. Turkey has been aggressively marketing its defense products internationally, and Anka-3 gives Turkish defense companies a prestigious flagship product to showcase. Countries that feel uncomfortable with the political conditions attached to American or European weapons might view Turkey as an attractive alternative supplier. That could generate significant revenue while expanding Turkey's geopolitical influence. The question now is what comes next? Will Turkey stop with Anka-3 content to have proven its capabilities, or is this just the beginning of a broader push into advanced military aviation? Rumors already circulate about potential manned stealth fighter programs and more ambitious drone designs. Turkish aerospace engineers who cut their teeth on Anka-3 now have the expertise to tackle even more complex projects. International partnerships could accelerate Turkish progress. Several nations have expressed interest in collaborating on future Turkish aircraft programs, potentially providing access to technologies and expertise that would take years to develop independently. Those partnerships could help Turkey leapfrog certain developmental stages while generating revenue and diplomatic benefits. Other nations are watching and learning. If Turkey can develop stealth aircraft despite limited resources and international restrictions, what might larger or wealthier countries achieve with similar determination? The proliferation of advanced military technology seems likely to accelerate, driven partly by Turkey's example. The exclusive club of nations capable of producing cutting-edge weapons continues to expand. The world may never look at Turkey's defense industry the same way again. What was once dismissed as a regional player capable of producing decent but unexceptional military equipment has demonstrated the ability to compete with aerospace superpowers. Anka-3 forced a reassessment of Turkish technological capabilities and ambitions. Whether that aircraft ever fires a shot in combat almost doesn't matter. Its existence has already changed calculations in capitals around the world. The question is no longer whether Turkey can build advanced military aircraft. The question is what they will build next. United States fifth-generation fighters have dominated the skies with their advanced capabilities. They have been unrivaled and undefeatable, taking charge as the world's most sophisticated fighters. However, a more cutting-edge fighter jet from Russia has challenged this claim, proving that the U.S. fifth generation is now unbeatable after all. This Russian fighter possesses advanced capabilities and lethal features that have shocked the United States Air Force. Is this Russian fighter formidable enough to take on one of the most advanced aircraft in the world? What are the capabilities of this fighter? Join us as we explore the designs and capabilities of the only fighter jet that can beat the F-35. On June 8th, Russia took a significant blow when Ukrainian forces hit a Su-57 fighter jet at Akbank Air Base, about 366 miles from the front line. This was the first time a fifth-generation fighter jet was destroyed in combat, which is especially surprising considering that the Su-57's main competitor, the F-35 Lightning II, has over 1,000 units built. The Su-57, known by NATO as the Felon, is a single-seat, twin-engine fighter designed for multiple roles. It's one of only 4 fifth-generation fighters in the world, alongside China's J-20 and the American F-22 and F-35, the latter being the Su-57's closest rival. Let's explore the designs and capabilities of the Su-57. The Su-57 Felon is built for air superiority, excelling in aerial combat as well as ground and maritime strikes. It's equipped to be one of the most advanced fighters in the world, but it faces tough competition from the F-35 Lightning II. It is a fifth-generation fighter jet, known for being Russia's first stealth aircraft in active service. It's designed to be versatile, capable of handling various missions, and focuses on stealth and high maneuverability in all directions. The plane also features large internal bays for carrying weapons and advanced sensors, including a radar system that allows for a high degree of automation. Sukhoi, the company behind the Su-57, looked at the F-22 Raptor as a model for creating a highly maneuverable stealth fighter. However, they aimed to fix some issues they saw in the F-22, such as its limited ability to use thrust vectoring to change direction and its small space for carrying weapons. They also felt the F-22 wasn't suitable for the multi-role missions needed by Russia, as it focused too much on air-to-air combat with fewer weapons. The aircraft has a wide, blended body with two engines placed far apart and includes movable horizontal and vertical stabilizers, with the vertical ones tilted for better stealth. The wings are shaped like a trapezoid and include flaps and other control surfaces to help with maneuverability. The plane also uses thrust vectoring to improve its agility and has special extensions on the wings to improve control at high angles and recover from stalls quickly if the thrust vectoring system fails. For braking in the air, the plane's ailerons move up while other control surfaces move down, and the vertical stabilizers turn inward to create more drag. The SU-57 is made from a combination of materials, with about 40% being aluminum and 18% titanium, but it also uses a lot of composite materials, making up about 75% of its outer surface and 22 to 26% of its structural weight. The SU-57 was designed to handle multiple roles. Unlike the F-35, it has a large internal space to carry various air-to-surface weapons. These weapons are stored in two main bays located between the engines, along with smaller side bays near the wings. Keeping the weapons inside the aircraft reduces drag, which improves performance and helps maintain its stealth features. It is highly maneuverable and stable in flight thanks to its advanced flight control system and thrust vectoring nozzles that can direct the engine's thrust. This allows the jet to perform complex maneuvers like the Pugachev's Cobra and the Bell maneuver, as well as flat rotations without losing much altitude. The aircraft's design and powerful engines enable it to reach speeds of Mach 2 and fly at supersonic speeds without using afterburners at Mach 1.3. This gives it a significant advantage in range and speed over older aircraft models. The Su-57 can fly over 1,500 kilometers at supersonic speeds, which is more than twice the range of the Su-27. It also has an extendable refueling probe to further increase its range. While the F-35 is a single-engine aircraft, the Su-57 packs two powerful fire spitters in its rear. On the F-35 is the Pratt & Whitney F-135 low-bypass augmented turbofan that provides 43,000-pound force of thrust with afterburner, thrusting the jet to a top speed of Mach 1.6 to 20 slower than the Mach 2 top speed of the Super Cruise-capable Su-57 with afterburner engaged, thanks to a pair of NPO Lilka Southern Isdeli 117 engines that produce a combined thrust of over 63,000-pound force. But what the F-35 lacks in thrust, it seems to make up for in engine stealth. The engine on the F-35 has a low observable afterburner that incorporates fuel injectors into thick curved vanes. These vanes are covered by ceramic radar-absorbent materials and mask the turbine. Its low observable axis-symmetric nozzle consists of 15 partially overlapping flaps that create a sawtooth pattern at the trailing edge, which reduces radar signature and creates shed vortices that reduce the infrared signature of the exhaust plume. The F-135 PW600 engine for the F-35B, a variant of the F-35 designed for the U.S. Marines, supports short takeoff and vertical landing by incorporating a shaft-driven lift fan. This SDLF was designed by Lockheed Martin and developed by Rolls-Royce as a key technology for the F-35, displaying the most impressive use case and performance. So much so that the system was awarded the prestigious Collier Trophy in 2001. The Su-57 is the first Russian military aircraft designed with a focus on stealth. To reduce its radar visibility, it uses several techniques similar to other stealth fighters like the F-22. The edges of the wings, control surfaces, and panels are carefully aligned and angled to minimize radar reflections. Weapons are stored inside the aircraft, and antennas are recessed to keep the stealthy shape intact. The aircraft is also coated with radar-absorbent material, or RAIM, to absorb radar signals and reduce the chances of detection. The entire fifth-generation class of aircraft is heavily dependent on stealth capabilities, so neither the F-35 nor the Su-57 is found lacking here. The American fighter was designed from the ground up with stealth in mind. Its manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, aligned its edges, serrated its skin panels, and masked the engine with easy-to-maintain fiber matte skin for low observability. They also reduced infrared and visual signatures, enabled the reflection of radar waves, and used strict controls of radio frequency emitters. The result is a radar cross-section lower than that of a metal golf ball. However, like other stealth aircraft, the Su-57's low observability is most effective against high-frequency radars, which are typically used by other aircraft. Low-frequency radars, such as those used for weather and early warning, are more likely to detect the Su-57 because of its size. But these radars are larger, more prone to interference, and less precise. To preserve their stealth profiles, both fighters by default carry their weapons internally, although they both have external hardpoints to carry weapons when stealth isn't the topmost priority. The F-35 has 4 internal hardpoints and 6 external hardpoints that combine to hold up to 18,000 pounds of weapons. These weapons are a combination of the most advanced American air-to-air missiles, air-to-surface missiles, and anti-ship missiles. It also wields conventional bombs such as the GBU-53/B Stormbreaker and nuclear bombs such as the B-61 Mod 12 nuclear bomb. For more rapid fire, the F-35 packs a 180-round, 25mm GAU-22/A4 barrel rotary cannon that fires 3,300 rounds per minute, which is far superior to the 1,500 rounds per minute of the 30mm Gryazev-Shipunov JISH-31 autocannon on the Su-57. There's a reason for this. The F-35, being a multi-role fighter, would be tasked with providing close air support to troops on the ground in a bid to replace the renowned A-10 Warthog. The Russian fighter has 6 internal hardpoints and 6 external hardpoints that combine to carry an estimated 16,500 pounds of weapons, slightly less than the weapons payload of the F-35. On its hardpoints is a combination of air-to-air missiles, air-to-surface missiles, anti-ship missiles, anti-radiation missiles, and conventional bombs. It's unclear if the Su-57 would be able to wield nuclear weapons like the F-35 can. The Su-57 takes things further with thrust vector control. The engine nozzles can rotate to direct thrust in different directions, allowing the jet to execute complex maneuvers in pitch, yaw, and roll. This level of control, first seen in earlier Sukhoi models like the Su-30 MKI and Su-35S, makes the Su-57 incredibly agile, capable of feats that seem to defy the laws of physics. The engines also include variable intake ramps for efficiency at supersonic speeds, and retractable screens to protect against debris when taking off from rough runways. However, the AL-41F1 engines haven't been without controversy. In 2011, a Su-57 had to abort takeoff due to a compressor stall during the Moscow Air Show, raising concerns about reliability. Looking to the future, the Su-57M is set to receive an even more advanced engine, the AL-51F1, by the mid-2020s. This new engine, designated as ISDELI-30 during development, will provide even more thrust, which is up to 37,500 pounds in afterburner, while also being more reliable and stealthier, thanks to innovations like glass fiber plastic components and a new nozzle design with serrated flaps. As if that weren't enough, by 2023, reports surfaced that UEC Saturn is working on a 6th-generation engine design for the Su-57, pushing the boundaries of what this fighter jet can achieve. By December 2023, all new Su-57s delivered to the Russian Air Force will be equipped with this advanced Stage 2 engine, setting a new standard for power and performance in military aviation. The Su-57 is equipped with 2 main internal weapon bays, each about 14.4 feet long and 3 feet wide, and 2 smaller side weapon bays near the wing roots. The main bays are fitted with launchers that can handle different types of missiles. The UVKU-50L launcher for missiles up to 660 pounds, and the UVKU-50U for those up to 1,500 pounds. The side bays use VPU-50 launch rails. For air combat, the Su-57 can carry 4 long-range missiles in the main bays and 2 short-range missiles in the side bays. The primary medium-range missile is the R-77M, an advanced version of the R-77 with improved radar guidance and a dual-pulse motor. For close-range combat, it uses the R-74M2, a heat-seeking missile designed to fit inside the aircraft. There's also a new short-range missile, the KAMD, in development to eventually replace the R-74M2. For longer-range missions, the Su-57 can carry the ISDELI-810 missile, an upgraded version of the R-37M. For striking ground and sea targets, the Su-57 can carry precision-guided bombs like the KAB-250 and KAB-500, as well as a variety of missiles including the KH-38 for air-to-ground attacks, the KH-35U anti-ship missile, the KH-58 USHK anti-radiation missile, and the KH-69 cruise missile. When stealth is not a priority, the aircraft can also carry weapons on 6 external hardpoints. Additionally, a new hypersonic missile similar to the KH-47M2 Kinzhal is being developed for internal carriage within the Su-57. The Su-57 also features a 30mm autocannon mounted inside the aircraft near the right-wing root. This cannon has an effective range of about 870 yards against aerial targets and 2,000 yards against ground targets. One main feature of the aircraft is a modern glass cockpit without any old-style analog gauges. Instead, it displays information on 2 large 15-inch multifunctional LCD screens, similar to the setup in the Su-35S. Additionally, there is a smaller multifunctional display and a digital control panel. The cockpit includes a wide-angle head-up display that gives the pilot key information directly in their line of sight. The primary controls are a joystick and a pair of throttles, with major functions managed through a hands-on throttle and stick system. The aircraft's canopy is made of 2 parts, with the rear section sliding forward to lock into place. This canopy is coated with a special material to reduce the plane's radar visibility. For pilot safety and comfort, the Su-57 uses the NPP Zvezda Kkuya with 36D5 ejection seat and the SOG-50 life support system, which includes anti-G protection and an oxygen generation system. The pilot wears a Zeiss AH-10B helmet equipped with a digital display that tracks eye movements, helping to target enemies even at high angles. The oxygen system provides an unlimited supply during flight. The life support system allows the pilot to perform intense 9G maneuvers for up to 30 seconds. The ejection seat, along with the PPK-7 flight suit, ensures safe ejection at altitudes ranging from ground level to 66,000 feet and speeds up to 810 miles per hour. The system also includes a survival kit to help the pilot after ejection. Both the F-35 Lightning II and the Su-57 are fitted with the most advanced avionics and armament their respective countries have to offer. For the F-35, the AN/APG-81, active electronically scanned array radar, AON/ASQ-239, Barracuda electronic warfare system, AN/AAQ-37 distributed aperture system, AON/AAQ-40 electro-optical targeting system, and AN/ANQ-242 communications, navigation, and identification suite, all combined to provide rapid beam agility, multiple operational modes, all-aspect missile launch and target tracking, 10 radio frequency antennas, all-aspect radar warning receiver, self-defense against missiles, the detection and jamming of hostile radars, laser targeting, forward-looking infrared capabilities, long-range IRRS functions, and an impossible level of sensor fusion to give the pilot and friendlies an omnipresent tactical picture of the battle space without compromising stealth. All of these are made possible by software running on a shocking 86 million lines of code, which is more than double the 4 million lines of the Su-57's code. But this isn't a coding competition, and in terms of avionics, the Su-57 has its own statement to make. Its central integrated management system fuses all the data from the SH-121 radar and electronic warfare radio electronic system, the 101KS electro-optical system, multiple, the NO-36 radar DAR-101, X-band, active electronically scanned array radar, and 2, the NO-36 radar L-band transceivers for friend or foe identification and electronic warfare. This allows for the total integration of avionics systems, maximization of pilots' situational awareness, and reduced workload. Still, the priority for the Su-57 is air superiority, and thus it has fewer avionics systems than the multi-role F-35. Unlike the F-35, the Russian fighter has the PAK-FA program. One of the main technical goals of the PAK-FA program is to fully integrate the Su-57's avionics systems, or sensor fusion, to improve the pilot's awareness of the surroundings and reduce their workload. The integration of these systems is managed by an information management system developed by GRPZ from Ryazan. The key systems include the SH-121 multifunctional integrated radio electronic system and the 101KS Atoll electro-optical system. Unlike earlier Sukhoi aircraft, Sukhoi itself handled the integration of the IUS, rather than relying on RPKB of Rumenskia. The Integrated Avionics Suite, known as IMABK, uses fiber optic channels and runs on over 4 million lines of code. The SH-121 system includes the NO-36 Bielka radar system and the L-402 Himalayas electronic countermeasure system. The NO-36 radar, developed by Takomarov NIIP Institute, features a main nose-mounted X-band radar with 1,114 modules and two side-looking X-band radars with 404 modules each, providing wider coverage. The radar antennas are tilted back for stealth purposes. The side radars allow the Su-57 to guide its own missiles while performing evasive maneuvers. The system also has L-band transceivers on the wing edges, which help with identifying friend or foe in electronic warfare. The L-402 Himalayas ECM suite works with both its own arrays and the NO-36 radar system, with one array located between the engines. Communication and data exchange between aircraft and command centers are managed by the S-111 system. The 101KS Atoll electro-optical system includes various sensors like the 101KSV infrared search and track, 101KSO directional infrared countermeasures, and others for navigation and targeting. The URST is mounted near the cockpit and can track multiple targets, while the DURS-EM system, a first for a fighter aircraft, has turrets mounted on the aircraft to protect against incoming missiles. The Su-57 can also deploy countermeasures like flares and radar decoys from dispensers in the tailboom. For navigation, the Su-57 uses the BINS SP2M inertial navigation system, which can work with GLONASS and is controlled by the IVS-50 computing system. KRET, the developer, announced in 2016 that it is working on a video processing system called Okhotnik to improve target detection and tracking. The aircraft also has a monitoring system that can predict the lifespan of its composite parts, making maintenance more efficient. Additionally, the Su-57 could be used to test advanced AI and unmanned teaming technologies for future fighter programs, and it has even demonstrated autonomous flight without pilot input. It is important to note that over 1,000 F-35s have been built since 2006. While Russia struggles to build a Su-57 in any significant numbers, only 32 units of the fighter have been built since 2009, many of which can't currently take to the skies to protect their nation. And the ones that can are apparently being picked off and destroyed in the Ukraine war. The war has also reportedly slowed down the already slow production of the Russian fighter. So in a battle between the F-35 and Su-57, it'll be a case of entire colonies of hundreds of F-35s up against 24 Su-57s. It would be an unfair fight, and regardless of their capabilities, the winner can be seen before a single shot is fired. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link appearing on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there!